This lifts the barrier to entry up completely. It allows people that don't have a lot of time, that may not have the development skills, to go ahead and give Origin a try. What is up, Hash Nation? It's Tuesday, and you know what that means. It's Token Talk Tuesday. And today we are talking about a project that's looking to change the game for the sharing economy and create a digital marketplace, a decentralized digital marketplace that everyone around the world can use. So we're talking about Origin Protocol. Let's hash it out. And guys, before we get started, if we are just now meeting, it's your first time on the channel, my name is Forrest. I'm a blockchain developer in industry, and I started this channel really to help you build your knowledge, boost your cryptocurrency gains, and to help you join the movement towards our decentralized distributed future. If all that sounds good to you, you want to join that movement, then go ahead and smash that subscribe button, click that little bell notification button so we can hang out every single time I post a new video. And stick around to the end of this video because we have a giveaway to announce between myself and Origin, and all sorts of great content throughout this whole video. Thank you guys so much in advance. Let's get started. So what do Uber, Lyft, Fiverr, Airbnb, and the like all have in common? Well, they are all part of the sharing economy, or the gig economy, which really provides a way for people that have some sort of asset like a car or a skill like graphic design, or even just their home. They can go ahead and use that to make extra money on a gig basis, meaning they don't have a full-time salary or any of that. They choose their hours, they choose when they rent their product or their car or their services, etc. That is the sharing economy, and it's very, very popular these days. Essentially, these services that run the sharing economy as we know it today are there responsible for connecting the seller and the buyer of a different service or product, like driving someone from point A to point B. And all this is really well and good, and as we know, I'm sure most of you have used Uber or Lyft, I'm sure many of you have used Airbnb, and all that's great. However, there is a dark side to the sharing economy and the platforms that make up the sharing economy. And that is this: the platforms that so many people rely on to get from point A to point B, or to make money taking people from point A to point B, or sharing their home with other people. These companies that run these services, they control everything, meaning they can revoke your access at any time for any reason. They can charge higher fees at any time and take out of your profits as a user of these platforms. They can raise prices for all the end users that are looking to facilitate these services. They can do whatever they want. And that ultimately is a risk to the sharing economy, and it takes away from all the people who work really hard to render the best services they possibly can. Not convinced? Well, let's take an example. Let's just say you want to get from point A to point B, and you don't want to pay the high prices that taxis charge. And some guy in a Prius drives up and sees you clearly lost, not knowing where you want to go and not having a ride anywhere, and says, hey, I'll give you a ride. I'll charge you $8 for that ride to go across town wherever you want to go. You probably wouldn't do it because you don't trust this guy. You don't know this person, and for $8 you may be getting a ride to your end destination, or you may wake up in a shipping box on your way to Madagascar. You have no way of knowing. However, if you hailed that ride using Uber, you would probably pay more like $12 or $13 to go the same distance, but you would have no problem getting in that same Prius with that same guy if you ordered that ride via Uber. Why is that? Because you trust Uber to do the work that's required to validate that this is not some crazy person that's coming to pick you up, and that you're getting charged a fair rate for where you're going and how fast you're gonna get there. You put a lot of trust into Uber to do the work for you, to establish that trust and to give you a fair price. And this is called the trust tax. It's something that's become very prevalent in the sharing economy industry overall, and that's just the fact that you're paying a price, you're paying a premium fee for these people to do the work, to match you with sellers that are rendering the services or the products that you want at any given time, so you don't have to do the work. That's the trust tax. Are you still not convinced? Well, here's one more example. I was in an Uber the other day, and this story really drove home for me, pun intended. I was in an Uber with a driver from Cameroon, and whenever I'm in Ubers, I often like to talk to the drivers or talk to the people I'm in the car with in the Uber pool, just because I feel like I can learn a lot of things from these people that all have a wide breadth of experiences. And it's always interesting to have these conversations. And during that ride the other day, I was only traveling a few miles, so I didn't have a lot of time to talk, but the topic of Uber versus Lyft and the prices that Uber and Lyft are paying this guy came up. And he told me that since the start of 2013, the amount of money he's being paid by Uber for the same amount of hours, the same distance driving, and overall the same number of rides by volume, his profits have been cut in half since 2013, in half. And the standard of living is not going down. The cost of living is not going down. His profits are going down. His take-home pay are going down. The base fee that Uber takes just to match you as a rider with a driver has climbed up to 25% at a base rate. But in reality, these fees are way higher than that. Like the safe driver fee and the ride booking fee and all these sorts of things, they add up very, very fast. So if you look at a ride that might be a couple of miles that only costs about $10, the Uber driver may only take home $5 or less after you take away the $3 in fees for booking and safe ride, plus the 25% booking fee and the match driver to rider fee that they take in the very, very beginning. Now, right there, that's 50% or more that they're taking away from the driver, not just 25%. So there's something missing here. There's no transparency about what fees they're taking. There's a clear lack of profitability now for Uber drivers and people who are rendering great services, doing really hard work, and doing things that people really need. I mean, there are so many times where I've been on the way to a meeting and I've had to get there fast. The only way I'm gonna get there is in an Uber. And Uber's always been around, and I've always been happy to use the service. So I want the people that are driving me to get paid like they're supposed to and to be able to live. Now, all of this being said, why am I barking up this tree? It's because the fees and the lack of transparency and the overall greed that has come from the sharing economy and the companies that run these services really needs an answer. And that answer, in my opinion, is decentralized marketplaces for the sharing economy, which is something that the Origin protocol, the topic of this Token Talk Tuesday, is all about. Origin is an Ethereum-based platform that uses a full-scale decentralized application ecosystem and decentralized file storage structure called interplanetary file storage, otherwise known as IPFS. And this platform allows freelancers and companies of all shapes and sizes to deliver products or services to end users and customers in a decentralized marketplace ecosystem where everything is paid in crypto, all the agreements, all the identity, everything is decentralized and built out using Ethereum features and decentralized file storage using IPFS. With Origin, the 20 to 30% fees or more that are being rendered by these companies like Lyft, Uber, Airbnb, etc., those are a thing of the past because no longer do you have to trust one single intermediary or trusted authority to connect the buyer and the seller of a certain good or service. And that being said, the idea here is that at a higher rate of cost savings, the seller of goods or services could then bring that discount out to the end consumer. Prices go down for the buyer and costs go down for the seller. Everybody wins. That's the idea. Something that's foundational to Origin is that there won't be any constricting rules. There won't be a lack of transparency between the buyer and the seller. And at the end of the day, it creates a more free, decentralized ecosystem for all of these different transactions to occur. And I think one of the best things is that there are no intermediaries, no trusted third parties, and there's also no annoying currency exchange rates to deal with for international transactions because everything is used and everything is facilitated using cryptocurrency, more specifically using Ether. Now you may be wondering, this all sounds great, but how are they doing this? Origin is composed of 3 distinct pieces or layers that makes all of this possible. And the first one of those is the decentralized application or the secure smart contracts that compose the entire ecosystem as we know it on the Ethereum blockchain. Second, the Origin developer libraries are a really, really easy way for developers at companies or within small freelance organizations to build their own custom experience. We'll talk about that more in a second. And finally, the core of the Origin ecosystem itself is the Origin protocols, or really the overall protocols that they've built out to fulfill the vision of a decentralized marketplace that truly meets the expectations of both buyers and sellers of goods and services. So let's talk about each of these a little bit individually and really dive into the details. The first thing that we discussed here is the Origin dApp, the smart contracts that build up the Origin ecosystem. And this dApp is really just the base implementation of Origin, meaning it's a place where people who don't want to set up their own marketplace or their own storefront can go to view storefronts that already exist, to place a one-off listing, to do all sorts of basic things. They can browse all of the listings that are already out there, and they can buy, sell, trade, do what they need to do without having to build anything out themselves. And this app consists of custom smart contracts that facilitate all of the business logic behind the Origin protocol, as well as IPFS decentralized storage that helps manage the larger data storage pieces, because you don't want to put a bunch of raw data on the blockchain. That's not what it's intended for. So instead, IPFS is there to store the larger data, hashes of that data go onto the blockchain, and beyond that, the web application front end is hosted on IPFS as well. So there is not one central source of failure for the UI either. Now, of course, this dApp is not intended to be the end-all be-all final implementation for everyone to use. They really want third-party developers and companies and freelancers to build their own experiences using those Origin developer libraries that we talked about just a second ago. And the idea here is that the more storefronts that come up, the more custom experiences, the more popular Origin itself is going to be as the infrastructure, the base layer for all of these new business models, these new verticals, if you will, to crop up. And that's what Origin's trying to do. They're trying to give people the tools to build their very own decentralized marketplace ecosystems for the sharing economy. So of course, that leads us right into the JavaScript libraries that we talked about just a moment ago. And to be honest, these Origin JavaScript libraries are just intended to be a set of tools, functions, and overall methodologies for developers within companies or freelance organizations to build their own marketplaces that are fully custom to their brand with their own business logic, and that they can add their own custom features to. For example, if you're facilitating ride sharing and you want to create the decentralized Uber, if you will, you're not going to want to just use the base marketplace experience that Origin has built. It's a great place to facilitate transactions on a one-off basis or sell some art. We'll get to that in a second. However, it's something that you're going to need custom features. You're going to need maps. You're going to need maybe more detailed user accounts. You're going to have to customize that experience for the end user based on what the use case is. So these JavaScript libraries help make that process a little bit more streamlined, a little bit easier for developers to build those custom experiences. Now, there are plans to release more libraries specifically for iOS and Android so that mobile app experiences can be developed with much less upfront effort, but those things are in the works right now and they are not yet released to the public. Now, the overarching goal of these JavaScript libraries, again, is to make it easy for third-party developers to build experiences on top of the Origin Marketplace decentralized app, and for people to create their own platform on top of Origin to facilitate decentralized Uber or decentralized Airbnb type of services. That is what Origin's intending with this. However, they are not deluded enough to think that only putting out developer libraries is enough to get people to use the platform. So they had to create something that allowed people to build marketplaces without any coding experience whatsoever. We're going to talk about that in a second, but let's jump down to that third layer, the Origin protocols first. And finally, the meat and potatoes of the Origin platform overall is the Origin protocols, these open source processes, methodologies, and functionalities that make up the decentralized marketplace that Origin has really been working towards over the last several years. The Origin protocols are the foundations that really support Origin's overall mission and brand. These Origin protocols really lay out the technical framework and architecture that makes up the Origin platform itself. For example, one of the main functionalities is that user and transaction data is stored in IPFS in raw format and only stored in hash format on the Ethereum blockchain, giving you better auditability between the two platforms, but also not bogging down the Ethereum blockchain with a bunch of excess raw data. And beyond that, creating an auditable and transparent ecosystem for the sharing economy. Among others, like establishing fractional use assets, the escrow of different funds using smart contracts, and so many more things are laid out in these Origin protocols that are truly, truly foundational to the whole idea behind Origin itself. And just to name a couple more, the introduction of secure, encrypted, peer-to-peer messaging, which is essential for the sharing economy and the applications therein, as well as a reputation system built upon reviews and ratings. This is all stuff that Origin's thought about when trying to build a fully functional decentralized marketplace that people will actually use. It's not about building something that's cool and that sounds cool, it's building something that people will feel comfortable using on a day-to-day basis. It doesn't feel different enough from what people are used to. It's not going to be going from Uber to calling a taxi on your landline phone. It can't be like that. It has to be easy, and that's why Origin has put so much thought into building out all these features and establishing Origin protocols for their marketplace apps. However, my favorite one of all these Origin protocols is by far digital identity. And to me, it's one of the most important parts of our really truly decentralized future is that we have self-sovereign identity. So let's talk a little bit more about that. So hearkening back to the Uber example before, in this sort of instance when you and an Uber driver have just been matched, likely you're gonna wanna know that this Uber driver is not a threat to you. And vice versa, this Uber driver probably wants to know that you're not a threat to him or her. And that's just a base reality of meeting a stranger and having them take you somewhere in their vehicle. You want to know if they're a licensed driver. They want to know if you're someone who's just escaping from prison and they're now aiding and abetting you leaving the prison grounds, for example. That does not mean, however, that either one of you should have access to any personal information beyond what you have to know to make you feel safe and secure getting in this person's car, or for that person letting you get in their car and go somewhere. That does not mean you should have access to their financial information. You don't really need to know their gender, their address, their nationality, any of that stuff. You don't need to know any of that. And the reality is today, you have no control over who gets what information and when they get it and how they get it, because we just have no control over our identities in general. That being said, these third parties that run all of these sharing economy services, they take information from you and they may or may not be transparent about how they're using it or when they're using it or who they're giving it to. And I'm not accusing any particular companies of doing this. I'm just saying that you don't have control over the data that they collect from you and what they're doing with it, and it's scary. And that is where the ERC 725 standard for digital identity comes in. What the ERC 725 standard is it's a smart contract template, an audited smart contract template that is tailored directly to digital identity and the facilitation of digital identity attestations and the mapping of these attestations and attributes to a given user. So your identity on the Ethereum blockchain would be your wallet or your key pair, and you could then own one or several ERC 725 contracts that contains attestations of your identity or identity attributes from third parties or yourself that you can use for different decentralized applications. Now, like ERC 20 and ERC 721, this is a standard, it's evolving and it's changing, but it is a really promising feature on the Ethereum blockchain. So let's take an example. I have an Ethereum address, I have an Ethereum key pair. I want to establish that I myself am a licensed driver in the state of Virginia. So what I want to do is I'd set up an ERC 725 contract and I would reach out to the DMV. This is all theoretical. The DMV doesn't have an Ethereum address from what I understand. They could then attest to the fact that yes, I have a driver's license that is valid in the state of Virginia, and maybe that I don't have any criminal records on my driving record, right? And they could issue that as a digital attestation to this ERC 725 contract that I have in my possession connected to my wallet. Now, later on, let's just say I wanted to drive for Uber, decentralized Uber more specifically, and someone wanted to verify that, yep, I have a driver's license, which is something that Uber, the company, does now. But obviously we don't have those intermediaries. So how can you verify that? You would then ask, can I see the attestation that the DMVs said, yeah, you have your driver's license? I would expose that attestation, the ERC 725 attestation from the DMV to that user. They'll be satisfied. Yep, you do have that license. Cool, we're good to go. You have your license. You're not a crazy person driving without a license. Really what this means is that A, I have full control over what my information is, when I get it, who asks for it, and I can control who gets access to specifically what information pertaining to my identity. And really, B, I choose at a granular level who gets to see what and what I share with other individuals and other companies. So let's take a little bit more of a deeper look on how all this works. So let's say I want to pick somebody up on decentralized Uber from Washington Capitol Stadium, go Caps. And I go ahead and accept their ride request. And the rider, as part of their policy, they will only ride in someone's car that has a valid driver's license and no DUIs on their driving record. So of course he or she wants to request that I make an attestation that can be validated that I do not have DUIs on my record and that I do have a valid driver's license. The rider's listing contract on the Origin platform goes ahead and reaches out to my ERC 725 contract to request the attestations that they're looking for. I go ahead and accept that request, and the listing contract is able to validate the public key and the signature from the DMV, validating that claim that I do indeed have a driver's license that's valid and I do not have any DUIs on my driving record. And at that point, the claim is verified. That user can be confident that I have received those attestations from the DMV, and we're good to go. The ride goes without a hitch. I get paid, he gets to where he's trying to go, and we're all in good shape. Now that's a super simplified example, and trust me, there are so many more complex use cases and different user flows and things that you can come up with for ERC 725 on the Origin platform, but that's just a simple example to give you an idea of what it's all about. So the fact that Origin uses your Ethereum wallet or your Ethereum key pair as your base account, it really gives you the ability to have single sign-on for all these platforms. You know how you have a Lyft account, an Uber account, an Airbnb account, you have an Etsy account, a Fiverr account, and too many damn accounts. And the reality is that using a centralized system, you're always gonna have a unique user account, unless you're lucky enough to be able to use a single sign-on, which not many platforms really allow. And of course, people will say you can use Facebook or Google. Well, you're making sacrifices there for your privacy as well, and that's just not something that everyone wants to do. So by having an Ethereum wallet be your single sign-on, your single source of identity, and your single source of account verification on this Origin marketplace, you can use it for any of the marketplaces or any of the apps that are on the Origin platform. And that's super powerful. It's a user experience thing, being able to use one account for all the services. And beyond that, you have that ERC 725 standard so that you can build up a reputation, ratings, reviews, identity attestations, so on and so forth on one account. You don't have to worry about having multiple fragmented sources of identity like you do today. Now, I love this stuff. I build enterprise applications for a living using decentralized tech, and so I realize the importance of having identity within reason. I want to see self-sovereign identity so badly because I think it's so powerful, and the ERC 725 standard, even though it's in its early stages, in addition to Origin protocol and what they're doing in this space, I think it's really cool, really powerful stuff, and I wish them all the best building this out further. Moving on. At this point, you guys may be wondering, because it is Token Talk Tuesday, if there is a token on the Origin platform, and the answer is yes, of course. The Origin token is an ERC20 token with a variety of different uses on the platform, and the use is not as obvious as being the main token for the buying and selling of goods. That's not what they're looking for. It's a utility token, though, that is going to be used as an incentive and disincentive structure or methodology on the Origin platform to make sure people are encouraged to do the right thing and discouraged to do the wrong thing. And obviously this is a theme across all different blockchain projects and crypto projects. So a lot of it is about game theory, guys. Blockchain's really cool, crypto's really cool. It's tech, it's game theory, sociology, psychology, all this cool stuff. That's why I love it. So let's take an example. The OGN token or the Origin token could be used as a disincentive by charging high fees for someone who is creating many listings on the marketplace that are exactly the same. So just like you see on Reddit, you get a little warning that says, hey, you're doing that too much. You can't post the same thing over and over again in multiple subreddits. Same sort of thing, but in this case, it would be establishing a higher and higher cost for posting duplicate listings on the Origin marketplace. This makes everyone's life a little bit easier because at a certain point, a malicious person's not going to want to keep paying the exorbitant amount of money to flood the network, and they'll eventually run out of Origin tokens anyway to flood the network with faulty and malicious transactions. And they could also be used as an incentive. For example, you could use Origin tokens to go ahead and incentivize people to use the platform itself. So you could give token grants out to people to use the Origin Marketplace overall to facilitate discounts, for example. If someone wanted to give out a 5% discount to all the people who follow their decentralized marketplace on the Origin platform, they could give you, let's just say, an Origin token and say, hey, that token's worth 5% this week only, for all of the products or services in our marketplace. But right now, Origin is using the Origin token mainly as an incentive structure for people to boost their listings on the marketplace overall. So if you were to use Origin tokens, you could boost your listing up higher in the search results so that you could potentially get more sales on the marketplace itself. So this is on the main dApp marketplace, not necessarily on your own custom one, but you get the idea. Just one simple implementation of establishing an incentive structure within Origin. So again, the key thing to note here is that Ether is the main cryptocurrency at large here in this platform. Ether is used to buy and sell things, and you can always see the balance that it would cost in US dollars, for example, but everything's paid in Ether, not in Origin tokens. That's another thing that people might be confused about. You pay in Ether, not in Origin tokens. The main point of the Origin token is to be a utility token to help with governance and incentive-disincentive structure on the overall decentralized marketplace ecosystem, and that makes sense. And another really important thing to note here is that even though the Origin team, the development team, they built this decentralized marketplace, they really don't have any control over where the data is, who owns what data. They don't have access to your data. They are not sitting here as one main puppet master centralized third party that's controlling this whole thing. They built the tools, they built the dApp, they built everything as a platform for other people to build cool stuff and for other people to sell cool stuff and buy cool stuff. That's the whole idea. So that means your encrypted messages, your data, your buying and selling history, all that stuff is yours and yours alone to control, to manage, to deal with, and to just erase altogether if you really want to. Obviously, you can't delete the records on the blockchain because that's immutable, but you get the idea. And without those centralized powers and the ability to censor the network and that sort of thing, there has to be some sort of incentive or disincentive structure to protect people, to make sure things aren't abused and to prevent things from eventually blowing up of their own accord, because, you know, sometimes we just can't have nice things because people do stupid stuff. So the Origin token is all there to help govern the network in lieu of a central source of power. Now, Origin is officially on mainnet in beta, so their main decentralized application, that decentralized marketplace we talked about, is live right now. You can go on there and you can buy and sell cool stuff on it right now for Ether, which is really cool. And to demonstrate the functionalities of a custom marketplace, there have been two distinct marketplaces that have been created on top of this overarching decentralized application. So the first one is called PeerArt, and PeerArt is something you may have seen on crypto Twitter if you are active in that community. But PeerArt basically is a place for independent artists and people to sell and to buy really cool crypto related artwork. And a lot of these things are one of a kind, or they're art prints. That mural that Crypty Crooks off of Twitter created, that's on there for people to buy. Really cool, really cool. I'll link that down below. But the reality is that this is a perfect example of how to use this decentralized marketplace. It allows people to post their art, other people to buy it, without having to pay an exorbitant fee at the end of the day to just talk to these artists and talk to these people and buy these things. If you bought that on eBay, it's gonna cost you a fee to sell, but on the Origin marketplace as an artist, you can put your stuff up there, you can get your stuff sold to new people, meet new people, and you don't have to pay crazy fees. Fantastic, and you get paid in crypto. So if you're a graphic designer or you're an artist, I definitely encourage you to check it out. Go to peerart.io. Again, I'll leave the link in the description below. And the other example of a decentralized app marketplace that they've built on top of their main infrastructure is called Crypto Merch. And Crypto Merch, as it sounds, is really a place for you to go and find a one-stop shop for all sorts of cool crypto swag like t-shirts, hats, hoodies, sweaters, crew necks, all sorts of cool stuff like that. There's all types of different brands and different cryptocurrency themed gear that you can pick up there. Stay tuned for that because I'm going to put some Hashoshi gear up on Crypto Merch. Definitely sounds like a cool opportunity, and there are already tons of influencers, brands, and etc. putting their crypto merch, their crypto swag out there on this crypto merch decentralized application marketplace. And in the spirit of crypto merch and crypto swag, Origin and I, myself, Hashoshi, are partnering to bring a giveaway to you guys, delivering a crypto swag pack of Hashoshi and Origin branded gear of your choosing for a few lucky winners. So if you want to be entered to win that contest, that giveaway, go down to the description or the YouTube comment that is pinned down below. Click that link marked Hashoshi X Origin giveaway and go ahead and enter. It will be open until Thursday or Friday, so make sure you get your entries in as soon as possible. Now on the mobile side of things, Origin has released their official iOS wallet, which packs in all sorts of features that you need to use Origin and use the decentralized marketplace apps from your phone on your mobile device, no problems, no questions. Basically, it is a super clean user interface. It allows you to create your very own Origin wallet, your ERC20 OGN token wallet, and you can store Ether or OGN in there, so you can facilitate all sorts of transactions with it. Beyond that, you can go in there and you can look at the different decentralized marketplaces. You can create your very own marketplace. All sorts of cool features built into this application. Definitely worth a download for you guys to check out. And of course, these examples of decentralized exchanges or marketplaces are really great, all well and good, I'm sure really resonating well with you. But if you wanted to create your very own, but you don't have the time, you don't have the coding skills, so on and so forth, you just want to get it done and you want to get it done right now. What are you gonna do? Well, Origin has you covered. They've built out their own marketplace creator tool, which really allows you to, in a few clicks on your computer, some naming, some branding, and all that sort of thing, you can create your own marketplace to sell your own stuff with your own brand, which is a great idea. This lifts the barrier to entry up completely. It allows people that don't have a lot of time, that may not have the development skills, to go ahead and give Origin a try. We all know that adoption is really the name of the game these days. And if users have to jump through hoops, they have to be a genius developer, or they have to know a guy that knows a guy to get access to a platform, it's just not gonna work. People aren't gonna do it. People are lazy, that's just the truth. I'm lazy a lot, so I get it. But I was able to create my own marketplace app for Hashoshi merch within about 5 minutes. Just really took some time for the smart contracts to deploy and all that sort of thing. That's nothing that the Origin people can control at the moment. So what are my thoughts? Origin really has kept their head down and built something pretty powerful in my opinion. They've thought about a lot of things. They've thought about what the barriers to adoption are gonna be. They've thought about what the features that people want from Uber and Airbnb, etc., what those people are looking for, and tried to build those out in Origin before they released it onto mainnet, rather than waiting until after to scramble and figure it out. I like that approach. And beyond that, I also like that you don't really hear a lot about Origin in the market. You don't hear a lot about their token because it's not intended to be this crazy, moon Lambo scheme. That's not what they're all about. And all that said, Origin has a really great developer team that's backing this, and they have good pedigree. I think one of their main founders is someone who is behind the architecture and the infrastructure behind PayPal, which, as you know, is a really successful platform out there on the market today. However, of course, there are things that concern me a little bit. The first one of those things is that Origin, by design, is intrinsically linked to the success and the scalability of Ethereum. At scale, you think about how many rides there are in Uber per day. It would be very difficult for the Ethereum blockchain to handle that sheer volume of transactions if tomorrow Origin were a full-scale platform with multiple verticals, Airbnb, decentralized Uber, all this other stuff running at the same time. Right now, I don't think it's feasible on the Ethereum blockchain, let alone many other blockchains at all. I don't think there is one that's scalable enough for that. However, that being said, I believe that Ethereum will scale. I believe that it can scale, and that in probably 2020, realistically, we're gonna see the ability for Ethereum to hit those numbers that we're looking for, at least better than what we're getting now. But until that time, Origin is gonna have to get creative in how they're going to be able to scale and continue to build, even though Ethereum is not moving very quickly on some of these big foundational updates to the protocol. And beyond that, as these foundational updates come, Origin's gonna have a tough task updating their smart contracts, making sure everything works still, because as you know, as a developer, I've talked about it before, keeping things up to date in a really rapidly changing, innovating platform marketplace like Ethereum, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes commitment. I believe Origin has that. I believe they have a team that's fully committed to doing this, but it's going to be challenging, and I thought I should be candid with you about those challenges. You know, beyond that challenge of scalability, it's also conveying that message to the end user, making people jump on and adopt and use this platform to its fullest potential. I think that's a challenge that a lot of platforms are having right now, and it's something that not many people have the answer to in the short term. However, if they just keep their heads down, they keep building, and they keep the outreach going for people to use this platform, I think Origin could be very successful in this niche market. And I really do think Origin has what it takes to really capture the next generation of the sharing economy or the gig economy. And I myself, I'm rooting for them. I'm a fan of their platform. You're gonna see me on there, maybe offering up some Hashoshi merch, some one-on-one live chats, all sorts of things like that. I'd love to use Origin as a way to engage my community more and talk to you guys a little bit more and create one-off experiences that everyone can have with the Hashoshi community, the Hash Nation. So all that being said, if you're looking to set up your own shop, or you're looking to do some freelance services, or you're just looking to buy some cool art that's crypto related or crypto swag, go ahead and check out Origin. Definitely worth your time. Download the app, head over to the Decentralized Marketplace, and do not forget to enter the giveaway that Origin and I are both hosting. All of those links are in the description and the pinned comment below. And I thank you guys truly for watching these Token Talk Tuesday series videos and making them a success. Truly could not do this without your support, and it makes me super, super fulfilled and happy that you guys enjoy these. Overall, thank you, truly. Cheers.